Okay, in the previous class we have discussed about the circulatory system in human being, and we have also discussed about the two different types of circulatory system, that is open and closed circulatory system, as well as we have discussed about the blood vascular system in human beings, that is about blood, and we have also discussed about the component of blood, that is WBC, RBC, platelets, and about plasma, as well as we have discussed the clotting of blood. Now today, in today's lecture, we will going to discuss about the functions of blood. That means the component of blood vascular system, that is blood, what are the functions of it. Mainly the blood is helping only in the transportation processes. That means it helps in the transportation of different substances. For example, first it helps in the transportation of nutrients. Now what are all nutrients we have? Nutrients we have is carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, as well as vitamins also. So these nutrients which we are getting from food itself. So whenever we intake food, that means whenever we are taking food inside and when we are digesting the food digested into different nutrients, and these nutrients which are digested, that is in the organ of digestive system, that is small intestine, from where only these nutrients has to be absorbed and transferred to the blood, and so that these blood will going to take these nutrients into different tissues or cell, because cells or tissue will going to utilize these nutrients and to break them up completely to release the amount of energy. So by absorption of these digested nutrients, we are getting different energy amount in the form of ATP. So that is why it is very important to transport these nutrients from digestive system up to different target tissues or cells. So blood is helping in this manner the transportation of nutrients. Second, it helps in the transportation of hormones. Now, since hormones are the chemical messenger, hormones are chemical messenger which releases by different endocrine glands. So endocrine glands are the glands which are ductless gland. They don't have ducts to release their secretion inside it, while exocrine gland do have ducts. That means they have tubes like structure to release the juices, that is digestive juices. But endocrine gland does not have any duct, so it releases or it secrete their chemical messenger directly into the blood, and this blood carry these hormones up to their target site, where these hormone attaches with their receptor and transfer the signal inside the cell in order to perform different metabolic functions. So in this manner, blood is helping in transportation of hormone, and just because of this transportation of hormones only, the metabolic processes is going to happen in our body system. Third is, it play role in transportation of enzymes. So again, enzymes which are protein in nature, they are biocatalysts. They catalyze various metabolic reactions in our body. Through blood only, these enzymes again reaches up to their different target site and perform different metabolic reaction. For example, if I say if any hormone attaches to any receptor present over the cell membrane of any organ or any target site, the hormone transfer the chemical signal or any message inside the cell in order to perform various metabolic function. But that metabolic reaction to takes place always need certain type of enzymes. For example, in case of digestion, if any food has to digest it, then it requires certain enzymes. So these enzymes again releases through or transport through blood only and reaches up to the target site to perform metabolic or to catalyze the biochemical reactions. Fourth is the transportation of gases. As we all know, like we have also studied about it in respiratory system, that we do inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide gas. So these exchange of gases actually takes place at the site of alveoli present inside the lungs. Since we all know alveoli is surrounded by or having rich supply of blood vessels. So through the blood vessel, these gases transfer to the blood, and this blood will then carry these gases up to the target site. As for example, oxygen is taken up from alveoli up to different target cells or tissue where the oxygen is utilized. And then after utilization of oxygen, the glucose gets break down completely and release the waste gas, that is CO2. That carbon dioxide gas again taken up by the blood from cells or tissue, and it transferring it or reaching it up to the alveoli or the lungs, through where or from where these CO2 gases again thrown out. So in this manner also the blood is helping in transportation of gases. It is also helping in the transportation of excretory waste. Now, the excretory waste is basically, our excretory waste is nitrogenous waste like urea, ammonia, uric acid, creatinine, and different other drug substances also. These excretory waste form again has to be thrown out of the body in the form of urine. So again blood is having these excretory waste, because there are various metabolic reaction which takes place in the body, through which different metabolic waste also produces in the form of nitrogenous waste, and these nitrogenous waste is very important to remove out of the body through urine. So this blood only carrying all the excretory waste from all different body parts, and this blood transfer this metabolic waste to the kidney, where this blood filter out and the metabolic waste gets separated from the blood and it release out in the form of urine. So in this manner it is also helping in removal of excretory waste from the body. Another important role is help in the immune system. The important role of blood is also in immunity. That means since our blood is having a component WBC, that is white blood corpuscles or white blood cell, that is leukocytes. These are nothing, these are immune cells only, and helps as a defense system of the body or the soldiers of the body, because it fights against various pathogen or bacteria or any parasite that enter inside the cell, or you can say any type of foreign substances which enter inside the cell. These WBC or different types of WBC gets activated to work or to engulf all those pathogen, or by producing antibody they act on it or they work against them. So in this manner blood is also helping in immune development of the body. So these are the various role of blood, or you can say the functions of blood. Now we will going to discuss about the blood groups. Now what do you mean by blood groups is, as we all know, like we have heard about the blood groups in we human being. Few people have the blood group A, few people have blood group B, few people have AB or O blood group, and we also say about that few people have A positive and A negative, or B positive or B negative, AB positive or AB negative, O positive or O negative. These are the different blood group present in we human population. This particular blood group system is known as ABO blood group system. This ABO blood group system actually it was given by Landsteiner. It was given or discovered by the scientist known Landsteiner. Now what is this blood group system or blood group system all about is ABO means, here this blood group system is dependent on gene actually. Like if we consider the blood group as few people have blood group A and few people have blood group B or AB. What does it mean? Basically, the identification of this blood group totally depends on the presence of different antigen on the surface of RBC. It depends on presence or absence of different antigens. And here the antigen which we are talking about is, it has two type of antigen we human being has, A and B antigen on surface of RBC, that is red blood cell. So the different antigen, that is A antigen or B antigen, which present on the surface of RBC. What is this antigen all about? Now what is antigen? Antigens are nothing, these are glycoprotein molecule. Antigens are glycoprotein molecule. This antigen gets attached on the surface of RBC. This antigen, when it gets attached on the surface of RBC, this attachment requires certain kind of enzymes. This enzyme, which is protein in nature, this enzyme's information, that means the formation of enzyme, is stored over the gene or on DNA. So the information through which our cell is synthesizing a particular type of enzyme which catalyzed the attachment of a particular type of antigen on the surface of RBC. What I am saying that, for example, if I am saying that on the surface of RBC the A antigen is attached, that means this antigen A is attached on RBC. On RBC actually with the help of certain enzyme, that means a particular type of enzyme catalyzed the process of attachment of this A antigen on the surface of RBC. That information of enzyme synthesis is stored in our gene part, and the genotype you can say, or the symbolic representation of that gene by which we are attaching the antigen A on the surface of RBC is represented by IA or IA small I. Fine. Then if RBC surface is having this A antigen on its surface, then we consider the blood group as A blood group. So this is blood group. Here I am writing about their genotype. What is genotype? This term we will going to discuss in the genetics chapter also. But here I can explain that this is nothing, this is the symbolic representation of any protein or any information of character present over the gene. Fine. So this is genotype, this is blood group. And this is, I am talking about antigens. That means which type of antigens present over the surface of RBC. If antigen A is attached, then A blood group. If antigen B is attached, then B blood group. The genotype will be considered as IB or IB small I. Similar, if on RBC both the antigen attached, and that means both type of enzymes if synthesized, that means the formation of both the type of enzyme expressed by the DNA to attach both type of antigen on the surface of RBC, then it is having the blood group AB, and its genotype is nothing, only one type of genotype is IAIB. And if RBC surface do not have any antigen, that means if it doesn't have any antigen on its surface, then the blood group is considered as O, and its genotype is only small I. Now this is about antigen. We are like, if antigen A is present, the blood group is A. If antigen B is present, the blood group is B. If both the antigen are found, then AB, and if no antigen found, then no O blood group. It means empty, 0. Now What is antigen exactly? As I have used the term antigen in the previous class also, whenever any foreign antigen or foreign substance enters inside the body, then the antibodies get activate to react with it and form or create an antigen antibody reaction. So this particular reaction causes the destruction of that cell which have that foreign antigen. So here also these are the antigen present on the surface of RBC. These are our self antigen. So these self antigen recognize our by blood as a self antigen. But if any foreign antigen enters in our body, then our blood recognize it as a foreign and start acting on it by considering it as a foreign and will going to kill it or destroy it. So you can say the antigens are actually a mode of developing immune system in the body. So if our body is having these particular type of antigen, so our immune body or our immune system do have antibodies also, but there will be no antibody in response to this particular antigen which is present in our system. For example, if I am having a blood group A, that means I am having a blood group A antigen. So our body or my body should not contain any antibody which will going to work against A antigen. But my immune system will synthesize those antibody against another type of antigen, that is B antigen. So always remember this thing, the person having blood group A will not have the antibody against A antigen, but it will have the antibody against another type of antigen, that is B antigen. So antibody present is, in case of A blood group, the antibody anti-A is absent but anti-B present. In B blood group, the antibody B absent but antibody A present against A antigen. Since in this blood group both the antigen are present, so it should not contain or you can say the person should not contain any antibody. So here no antibody found. And again O blood group having no antigen, it do not have any antigen, but it must contain both the type of antibody, anti-A and anti-B. Fine. Now that is why we say that this O blood group and AB blood group, this is considered as universal acceptor. AB is universal acceptor and O is universal donor. Now why? See, since AB, which is known as universal acceptor, because this blood group have both type of antigen, but it doesn't have any antibody to react against any antigen. That means this blood group, this people or the person who all have AB blood group, it can accept blood from any person having any type of blood group. Why? Because these people which have both the antigen, they do not have any antibody to react with any antigen if another person's blood group having any antigen is transferred to this person. O is known as universal donor. Why? Because it do not have any antigen. That means it do not have any stimulating substances to stimulate the reaction with antibody or to activate any antibody. So it can be donated to any other person having any of the blood group. So if I transfer the donor, if I transfer the blood O to any blood group having A, so A blood group is having antigen A and antibody B. So it have antibody B, but there is no antigen B present on the surface of RBC having blood group O. So if there is no antigen, then it will not going to stimulate activation of any type of antibody in the recipient blood. So that is why it is considered as universal donor. This is about the blood group A, B, AB and O. Now the question arises that how the blood group considered as positive and negative. So there is another antigen. We have another antigen present on the surface of RBC, that is rhesus antigen, RH. The full form of RH is rhesus. This antigen originate or evolved from our ancestor rhesus monkey. During evolution, this rhesus antigen, which was present in the blood of our rhesus monkey ancestral form, this RH antigen has been descent down in few human beings and has not descent down in few human beings. So few of the people have RH antigen along with the antigens A and B, and few human beings does not have this RH antigen along with this antigen A or B. If the RH antigen is present on the surface of RBC, then we consider it positive blood group. If RH antigen is absent on the surface of RBC, then we consider the blood group as negative. For example, positive if present. Either it is present or it is absent. So, if it is present, the blood group is A positive. If it is absent, the blood group is A negative. If it is present, the blood group is B positive. If it is absent, the blood group is B negative. If RH antigen is present along with this RBC, then the blood group is AB positive and AB. If it is absent, then AB negative. Similar O positive and O negative. That means here along with A, if RH antigen is present, then it is positive. And if it is absent, then it is negative. Similar, if along with B, if RH antigen is present, that means the B positive, and if it is absent, then the B negative. In the similar way, AB and O blood group also. So this is all about the blood group having different antigen system, having positive and negative value also. So by looking into this, we can now easily recognize the blood group, and we can also distinguish that which is the universal donor and which is the universal acceptor. Now we will going to discuss about the different blood vessels, that means the tubes or conducting vessels through which blood flows in our body from one part to another part. Now blood vessels. As we all know, blood vessels are the tube-like structures inside which the blood flows. In human beings, we have mainly three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and the third one is capillaries. Capillaries are nothing. This particular thing is the branches only of arteries and veins, which is present in between the tissues. So that's why we do not consider as capillary under major blood vessels, because all over the body, throughout the body, the main blood vessel are arteries and veins which spread or which carry the blood to different target site. Different target site consist of tissues only, and under or in between the tissues or cells, the arteries and veins when divides into more thinner blood vessels is actually known as capillary. So the main point of consideration is our arteries and veins. Now the basic difference in between two type of blood vessel is arteries carry oxygenated blood. The most important difference is it carries oxygenated blood, and veins carry deoxygenated blood. So here you can say arteries having oxygen in their blood and veins do not have oxygen in their blood. Instead of oxygen, it carries carbon dioxide along with the blood. That means you can say that arteries carry blood from heart, to different body system. This carry blood from heart to different body system, while veins carry blood from different body system to heart. So what is the difference is, because it is carrying oxygenated blood, so definitely heart must be pumping this pure blood to different organ system, because our organ or our tissues must require oxygen for metabolizing or for complete breakdown of sugar. So it must require oxygen. So blood vessel artery is pumping oxygenated blood to different systems, while in metabolic reactions or in metabolic process, that means during breakdown of glucose, the CO2 must have been released. That CO2 again carried by blood from tissues, from organs, and through veins it has been transferred to the heart again, because heart carry those deoxygenated blood again back to the lungs for its oxygenation. Now since artery, A for artery, it do not have valve. So here the absence of valves on its wall. That means you can say the wall of blood vessel, that is artery. The wall of artery does not have any valve. Valve का मतलब सीधे सीधे gate. There is no gate. Why? Because gate उसके लिए होता है which carrying impure things. Fine? तो valve की ज़रूरत arteries में है ही नहीं. Valve की ज़रूरत artery में क्यों नहीं है? Because यहाँ पे oxygenated blood हम carry कर रहे हैं, तो oxygenated blood के लिए कभी भी हमें gate बंद या खोलने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because it is pure blood, it is good blood. So it does not require any valve or any gate like things which prevent its backflow. But since veins carry deoxygenated blood, so it do require valve. So here the valves are present. Valves are present. Why? Because to prevent the backflow of blood. To prevent backflow of blood. Now, why this is being required is because it is carrying deoxygenated blood. So, if the deoxygenated blood get mixed up again with the previous organs from where it has already been released, so that is very wrong, because this is deoxygenated blood which need to move forward and which need to transfer back to the heart for its oxygenation to the lungs. Right? That is why the valves are present on the wall of V for veins. V for valves are present over its wall to prevent the backflow of deoxygenated blood. Another important difference is the arteries. Basically our arteries are deeply located. They are deeply located, while veins are superficially located. That is why you can easily observe your veins from outside, because it is very easily visible. That is, these blue color nerves, these blue color vessels are known as veins, which we can see in our body parts. But arteries we cannot observe from outside, because it is deeply located. Why? What is the reason behind it is, again, since artery is carrying oxygenated blood which is coming out of the heart. So heart is pumping oxygenated blood with more and more pressure. And if it is pumping blood with more pressure, so it has to be located deeply inside, you can say with much protected or with much protection. That is why the location of artery is deep inside, while vein is not carrying the oxygenated blood. It is receiving the deoxygenated blood from tissues which is not at such a higher pressure. So it does not require so much protection. So that is why it can be located superficially also. So in case of arteries, another difference is here the pressure of blood is high, and here the veins pressure of blood is low. Another difference again, in case of artery, the wall of arteries Basically, if I'm talking about the pressure is high, so it must be understood that the walls of arteries are thick. Here, walls of arteries are thick. Why thick? Because it need to carry the oxygenated blood with high pressure. So it require more and more protection. That is why its wall is very, very thick. So if the wall of arteries are thick, then its lumen, that means lumen means the cavity, it should be narrow. This narrow lumen it has. And if lumen is narrow, that means lesser is the area, more pressure, with more pressure the blood flows or any fluid can flow. That is why high pressure is maintained in case of artery because of its thick wall and narrow lumen. And just oppositely, in veins, the walls of veins are thin, and here the lumen is wide. Fine. So in this manner, there are the basic differences. These are the differences in between arteries and vein. Along with the pressure, we can also say about the velocity, that in arteries the blood flows with high velocity and in veins the blood flows with low velocity. Fine. So this is about the difference in between arteries and vein. Now this is another component of blood vascular system. We have studied about the two components, that is blood. We have talked about blood in the previous class, that blood is a fluid connective tissue having plasma and corpuscles. Then we have also studied another component of blood vascular system, that is blood vessel, that is arteries and veins. Now we will going to talk about the structure of heart, the another structural part of our human circulatory system. Okay, now we will going to discuss about the structure of heart. Now, as we all know, heart is our pumping organ. Our heart is a pumping organ. Human heart pumps blood to different body system or different body parts to supply blood and to supply mainly oxygen also. Now, this heart, where does it located? The location of heart is in media sternum or media sternum, you can say, in between two lungs, or you can say more towards left lungs in its cardiac notch. So this is the exact location of our heart, that there is a notch present in our lungs, in the left lungs. For example, if this is our left lung, this left lung is having suppression. Suppression means the invaginated form, and here our heart is located. Fine. So this is the cardiac notch, that is more towards left lung, but it is not exactly in the left side. It is located in the media sternum, in between two lungs and in the cardiac notch of the left lung. The size of our heart, the size of human heart is similar to its fist. The fist size, that means जो मुट्ठी हमारी बनती है उस साइज का हमारा हार्ट होता है. जिस भी पर्सन का जो भी उसकी साइज मुट्ठी की साइज होती है उसी साइज का उसका हार्ट होता है. Right? So this is the size of human heart. Now our heart is actually four chambered. That means we have total four chambered heart, two auricles and two ventricles, and we have two sides. That is right side, and we have left side of the heart. So let's draw the diagram, actual diagram of the heart, and that only we are going to understand about the structural features of human heart. One more important thing I need to tell is that our heart is actually covered by membrane. Covered by membrane, which is known as pericardial membrane. Basically, these membrane is of three types: epicardium, myocardium, and pericardium. These membrane is providing protection to the heart, because heart has to pump continuously, and our heart consists of cardiac muscle. This cardiac muscle never get fatigued, and it continuously contract and relax to pump blood. So these three membranes provide protection to the heart against any kind of injury or any kind of shock. So it says acting as it is providing protection. And in between these cardium, there is a cardial fluid also. We can say pericardial fluid, which is the shock absorbent substances. Fine. Now let's discuss about the structure of heart. This is our human heart. See how many chambers of heart we are observing here. We have 4 main chamber. This is auricle. This is also auricle. This is ventricles. This is also ventricles. This is our right side, right auricle and right ventricle. This is left side, left auricle and left ventricle. So this is right side of the heart and this is left side of the heart. Now this right side of the heart is actually known as pulmonary heart. And the left side of the heart is known as systematic heart. Now, why it is known as pulmonary heart and why it is known as systematic heart? This pulmonary heart means this particular side of the heart is receiving deoxygenated blood. It receives deoxygenated blood. That means you can say the blood is transferring into it as all deoxygenated blood. And this particular chamber or this side of the heart which is receiving deoxygenated blood, which takes it, this side of the heart only, carry this deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. And pulmonary word we consider for or we use for lungs only, that is why it is known as pulmonary heart. While this systematic heart is actually receives oxygenated blood from lungs, and again this oxygenated blood it transferred to different system, different body system. So that is why it is known as systematic heart. So you can say right side of the heart pumps deoxygenated blood to lungs, that is why it is known as pulmonary heart, and left side of the heart pumps oxygenated blood to different body system, that is why it is known as systematic heart. Now let's see what is right auricle. Now see, this is right auricle in which two types of veins are opening. These veins are known as this is superior vena cava and this is inferior vena cava. These are veins only. These are veins which carry deoxygenated blood from different body organ. From superior vena cava, the blood is coming from upper body part, and inferior vena cava, the blood is coming from lower body part. These veins pumps blood. Which type of blood it is pumping? Deoxygenated blood. It is pumping to the right auricles. Now, in between the right auricle and the left auricle, there is a septum known as interauricular septum. Similar, in between two ventricle, we have the septum known as interventricular septum. And in between auricles and ventricles, we have the auricular ventricular, that is, you can say AV septum. AV septum. Now, we can easily observe in it that in right side of the heart, the two veins transfer the deoxygenated blood to the right auricle, but in the left auricle, what we are observing is, here these are artery. This is artery, which is known as pulmonary, sorry, not artery, it is vein. This is pulmonary vein, which actually carries or transfer oxygenated blood from lungs to the left auricle. This is the main exception in veins. That means this is the only exception in veins, that it is transferring or carrying oxygenated blood from lungs to the left auricle, although vein always carry the deoxygenated blood. Now, what we are observing again, that at these AV septum, these are the AV septum wall. In the wall, there are gates present. That is, valves are present. This type of valve having three cusps is known as tricuspid valve. This is known as tricuspid valve. And this particular valve is known as bicuspid valve, having two cusps. That means left ventricle having bicuspid and right ventricle having tricuspid valve. Fine. Now, these valves remain closed. The valves generally remain closed if the blood is coming into the auricle, and at that time these valves on the AV septum remain closed. But if the pressure gets higher in the auricle, then the valves of these AV septum has to open in order to release blood into the ventricles. Fine. So this valves, the role of these valves is just to maintain pressure and to release pressure in auricles and in ventricle. Now, another thing is there are another valve present over it. At the wall of these AV septum, you can say, or you can say, the cavity of ventricles having two types of valve is known as semilunar valves. These valves are known as semilunar valves. Their shape is like similar to that of semi or half moon. Its shape is similar to half moon. That is why the valve name is known as semilunar valve. Now, these valves are opening of two types of blood vessel again. If the valve present at the wall of right ventricle, then this valve opening into another artery known as pulmonary artery. This is known as pulmonary artery. And another type of vessel which is opening, or the valve that opens, that means the semilunar valve which is present over the left ventricle wall. This valve open into another type of blood vessel known as aorta. Now, what is the role of this aorta and pulmonary artery is? See, here whenever the ventricles gets filled with the blood. For example, the right ventricle filled with the deoxygenated blood and left ventricle when completely filled with oxygenated blood. That means whenever these ventricles get a higher pressure of the blood, then these semilunar valves opens up, and from right ventricle the deoxygenated blood transfer to the pulmonary artery. This is again another exception in artery, that this pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood. Although artery always carry oxygenated blood, but this is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Then another semilunar valve which present on the left ventricle, it is opening into the major blood vessel. This is the largest artery or largest vessel in our human body system, known as aorta, through which the oxygenated blood is pumped to different body system. So this is all about the structure of heart, which we have discussed that it is 4-chambered, having 2 sides, right and left side, having different walls, that is interauricular septum in between auricles, interventricular septum in between ventricle, and AV septum having bicuspid and tricuspid walls on the left and right side. And in this manner, the heart is actually covered also by different membrane which provide them protection. Now, in the next class, we will going to discuss the working of heart, because we have discussed about the structure of heart. Fine? Thank you.